Hey there, Castlebrook students. This is Mr. Corgale. I just wanted to add a second follow-up answer question. I spent all of the last video focusing on the news article and Lizarda. The problem is that it doesn't really communicate the variety of stuff that you have to deal with on the EQAO. So, as mentioned before, there's a variety of texts that you're going to have to deal with. The one that we focused in the last video is news report. So I'm just going to very quickly go through sort of the rest of booklet number 1. In the last video we dealt entirely with Lizarda in these questions. You can see here these questions are not text dependent. Well, perhaps they are, but the text is not some other reading piece. The text is actually right inside the question. So these are sort of questions about organization and grammar. So in this one, choose the sentence that does not belong in this paragraph. We see here that the focus is on traffic in busy streets. We have cars and pedestrians and cyclists, pedestrians. So there's a connection there between sentence 2 and sentence 3. Tall buildings here is not ever really, it's not introduced anywhere before in this paragraph. So I would say of all the sentences, number 4 is not introduced quite right, I would say. Here we have choose the best place to insert the following sentence. So they give us a sentence in bold and they ask us to put it in somewhere here. And so when we read the sample, the first toothbrush dates back to over 3,000 years. And then they jump forward from 3,000 years ago, which would have been like 1000 BC. They jump immediately to the 1700s, so there's a big logical jump between sentence 1 and sentence 2. Therefore, this sentence, they were originally, that sentence was going to slot nicely after sentence 1. So F would be the correct answer for that organization. In this case here, they ask which of the following sentences needs revision. So they're talking about, it looks like a snowmobile club in Ontario. So we have to read these sentences and find one that doesn't quite make sense or isn't quite correct. When we look at sentence number 2, when the club was formed in 1968, comma, this is a phrase that is giving us additional information about when, but this is not, there's no subject, verb, or object here. This is just additional information. So when the club was formed in 1968, it focuses on, so you can see that the tense here is a problem because they're setting the date as 1968. This should be past tense. This is, so the question here, or the answer, is number 2. Sentence number 2 needs revision. If they want to keep this, they need to change focus to a past tense verb, focused ED on teaching safe driving. Which sentence is written correctly? I'll let you guys wrestle with some of these other questions. I think I've done enough to show you these are not text-dependent questions. Let's keep moving through booklet number 1. We talked about the variety of different types of information that we get. The one that you're about to see here is a dialogue. The reason I know it's a dialogue is because you see all these quotation marks, and there's back and forth between two people. Said Nat, shaking hands with Alex. Alex smiled. I'm happy to help students with career exploration. So this is two people talking back and forth. Once again, you can see on the right how these little numbers determine what paragraph it is. So that's a dialogue. We've already seen this task in one of the previous videos. This is where they ask us to write a newspaper article. And this one here, this is, they're talking about polar bears. So this one here is an informational paragraph. An informational paragraph is similar to something that you might see in a textbook. In this case, you might see a section of writing like this, perhaps in a biology or maybe a geography textbook. So that's also something that you're going to have to deal with, that kind of writing. Interestingly enough, you can see here on the right, the numbers in the right-hand margin. These do not signify the paragraph number. In fact, they signify the line numbers. So you can see that this is line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and this is line 5. That's why that number is there. So once again, you have multiple choice questions that are specifically geared or based off of this text. Something that's interesting, this is a favorite of the EQAO, this type of question. State the main idea of this selection and provide one specific detail from the selection that supports it. So when you're trying to find main ideas, you're looking for something like a theme, we would call it in English class, but an idea that is present throughout. One way would be to try to find the most important word or idea in the beginning, and then see if you can locate that throughout. In this case, it looks like the survival of this species, the polar bear. This would be, survival is the idea, is the main idea of this selection. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to, let's take a look at where we've been is in booklet number 1. I just want to quickly scroll through booklet number 2, and then we'll end this video section on the short answers. We've seen this already. This is a series of paragraphs. Once again, we have questions that are not necessarily dependent on a text. In these cases, the text is within the question. It's not coming from another place. One other thing So as you can see, this selection, this text is a little bit longer than the other 4, and for that reason, you remember from the last video I said there's going to be one longer section, and for that reason this is a real-life narrative because of the length of it. So that's that. I've already kind of shown you the method you want to use when you're going through multiple choice questions. Here you have another dialogue. You know this because you can see these quotations going back and forth between two people. And that's about it. We've covered the entire short answer section. The only video left that's still to come is on the topic of graphic texts. So we're going to leave that for next time. But in the meantime, study hard, prepare yourself,